So that being said, um, I I really wanted to bring more of these skills to the table and talk about this, even though it's not something that I generally talk about. I'm usually in the marketing space. I'm usually talking about marketing because although accounting is where I hung out for a number of years, I really enjoy marketing and I've fallen in love with marketing over the years, and that's really my space now. But I have to say, as a CEO, and this is really what I want to talk about today, as a CEO, whether you are in the financial sector or not, do we have any non accountant, bookkeepers, anyone on this training who is like, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a financial pro, I am so far from that? Do we have anybody on the call today who is absolutely not that? Or are you all pretty much in the financial space? Because the other day somebody said to me, I was asked on a call, they said, Alyssa, as a bookkeeper, do you recommend that I learn more CFO skills? And I said, as a business owner, I recommend you learn more CFO skills. And why is that? Because as a CEO, it becomes imperative that you understand how to manage your company at a higher level and manage your company from a CFO level, which is understanding your cash flow. It's understanding exactly what's going on from a financial space. So whether or not you're a bookkeeper, an accountant, a tax pro, a coach, whoever you are, wherever you are, I don't care what you do. If you're a CEO of a company, you need to understand exactly what is going on with your money every single day. Now, the irony that I find around this is I work with so many financial pros every single day that still have their head in the sand around their own money, right? And I'm not going to ask everyone to admit this. Maybe I will a little bit. Maybe I will ask you to admit it. Would you say that you pay more attention to your client's money than your own? Let's ask it in that way. You pay more attention to your client's money than your own. Of course. Yeah. Many of you do. Yeah. Erica says I used to. Okay. So she's made some changes. Right. And it's very easy to do, right? We're so focused on client success. We're so focused on taking care of our clients. Yeah. Of course, there's going to be exceptions to this, right? There's always exceptions to the rules here or the status quo. But I find often that my financial pros, they put themselves in positions where they're so focused on fulfilling clients' needs and being the technician that they forget to be the CEO of their company. And that's really what this group is about, right? Where financial pros become CEOs. And part of being a CEO is being a CFO, whether we like it or not. Being fiscally responsible, right? And do me a favor, guys, if you can, turn on your camera so I can see you guys. It brings me energy and love. If I can't see anybody talking to me, or see the people I'm talking to, I don't feel like I can't tell if you guys are enjoying this or not. If you're not enjoying it, I don't know. If you are enjoying it, I don't know. And then I'm like, who am I talking to? Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Got some hearts. Thank you. Okay. So it helps me. All right. So Deepa says, I'm lucky to have a husband who's relentless on keeping me accountable to my own money. So I am. That's awesome. Yeah. Not everybody has that, right? Some people have partners who are not good with money at all. My husband's a saver. I'm a spender. So I give my husband money so he can save it. I'm like, here, you take the money so we save it. Here, take it all. I put it in a joint account because it's an account I won't touch, because otherwise he'll ask me where the money went, because he's such a saver that he'll be like, do you know that there's the money is dwindling in this account? And so I just won't touch it. I think we always marry into our opposite, right? Would you guys agree to that? Is your spouse the opposite of you? I'm interested in that. I think it's always good. Yeah. I'm definitely who's a spender? I'm a spender. You give me money, I'm a spender. Man, I will. You want me to spend your money? I will find a way. Okay, got some spenders in here. Deepa's I'm a saver. In the middle. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to talk about increasing your cash flow, right? And I will give you these notes. I'll give them to you now. Even though I'm not done with them, I'm going to continue to write on them as we go through this, but I'll drop them in the chat now. But I wouldn't recommend making a copy quite yet because I'm not done with them. And I do have to change my, there we go. You should be able to open them now, but I'm not done writing on them because I haven't finished the training. So I will as we go though. Okay. So I want to jump into some tactical stuff, but first we need to talk about the real reason that your cash balance might not be as sexy as you hoped it would be when you started your business, right? I think a lot of times what happens when we start our business, we think if we make more money, we're definitely going to have more money, right? We're going to make more money and there's definitely going to be more money in the bank account. And that's like, well, right now, typically many of us, and let me know if you agree with this in the comments, you worked in corporate and so you had a set salary. You could only make so much money, right? You could only make 5K or 3K a month or whatever it was, and that's it. And so you knew if I start my own business, I'll definitely be able to make more money and therefore I will have more money. And then what happens, right? We don't have more money in the bank. We actually end up living to these new means. And I'm guilty of this as well, right? Like I have the money, so I spend the money and I want to enjoy the money I have. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's no shame or blame around that. There's nothing wrong with that. But this typically comes down to your money mindset, your belief system, your story around money. You either are on two sides, one or two sides of the coin, or Jesus. You have one of two belief systems, right, around money. Either that money is important or money is not important. And some of you have maybe heard me talk about this before. If you grew up with a story around money is important, that means that typically maybe your parents told you a lot of times that money was very important. They were likely savers. They worked really hard and they ingrained in you that, you work hard and money is important and it's important to work hard for your money, right? And so we put a lot of value and stake in money. And so therefore you have this belief that money is very important and you might be a little more of a saver because money's so important and you know how important it is and therefore you have to have it. And it has a little bit of control over you because of this, right? And if you don't have enough of it, you feel scared, you feel nervous. It makes you have some emotions, right? Versus the people that were raised in a world. Yeah, so Deepa said earlier, she's a saver, and she said, oh goodness, yes, that is it. Yeah, so now my spenders, let me know if you relate to this, because this is me. You were raised in a world where money wasn't important, right? No one really talked about money. You weren't raised in an environment where money was of all importance. Maybe there was more was put on spending time together and for example, my family, we traveled and my mom didn't really focus on working really hard for money. She made enough money and we got by, but we went camping and we did things that were inexpensive. We didn't go on big trips or anything. But we got by, and money really wasn't talked about. There wasn't a lot of weight or value put on money in my household. And so I don't care about money. It doesn't really have any weight to me. It's not important. Therefore, I don't really have any, when I have money or when I don't have money, I don't feel any certain way about it, right? I don't get nervous or scared about money. It doesn't feel important to me. And so it's very easy for me to get rid of it, which isn't typically a good value either, right? Like, I don't want to be somebody who just is easily just, it's all gone. Oh, great. Right. And obviously I've worked a lot on this, and I've have some good counseling and psychology around this, but that's interesting. Yeah, my mom saved aluminum foil and my dad spent everything, right? And so wherever you kind of fell into, right, one side or the other, my money was really important to my dad, but I wasn't raised by my dad. My dad was in the military, so he was always gone. And then I was raised by my mom and my stepdad, and they just, like, we had enough, right? And like, we had a house, we went camping, I was able to play sports. And so it was like, there wasn't really any conversation about money. Money was never a thing. And so it's just like, it didn't have any value in my home. There was no like, you can't have that because, oh, we don't have enough money or anything like that. So there was no real value or weight put on it. It wasn't important. And that being said, this is another thing, I also believed that people that felt money was really important, I felt they were greedy. I felt like they were bad in some way, right? So anyone who put a lot of value on money, I thought something was wrong with them, right? Like, oh, there's more to life than money. And so I had to unlearn some of those traits as well, right? In order to get myself where I am today, I had to believe that I could be good and also make money, right? So you have to understand who you are to be able to understand how to support your bank balance, right? Because if you're someone who doesn't put a lot of value on money, it might be very easy for you to get rid of it quickly, right? If you're someone who believes money is very important, you might not be taking the risks that you could be taking, right? You might not be investing the way you could be investing. You might not be moving your business forward the way you could be, right? Because of scarcity or fear, right? So know this about yourself. The next thing that I see the most often, especially in the financial sector, is although we claim to be so great with money, we don't price very well for profitability. We typically price as if we are the consumer, what we would pay for, what we think it's worth. Would you guys agree with this? Right? When you first started your business, typically everyone's like, oh, well, I think I'd probably pay like $40 an hour, $50 an hour, right? You priced based on being the consumer, not based on any real factual or tactical info. You price based on your own belief systems. It's easy, right? This is easy work. I can get this done quickly. It's not a big deal for me. And so therefore, when you're pricing based on being the consumer, when you price based on the fact that it's easy or that you wouldn't pay a lot for it, guess what happens? You immediately cut yourself short on what your profit margins could actually be, right? And so we don't come to any conclusions about profitability. We base our pricing based on being a solopreneur with no expenses ever. Right? With no expenses ever. You think for some reason you're going to just be 100% profitable and you're only going to charge hourly, as if this is an hourly job. It is not an hourly job. You run a business. You have things to pay for, like taxes, software. You need to eventually hire someone to help you. If you're smart, you'll do that sooner than later if you haven't already, right? And you all have heard me say, you cannot do cleanup or catch-up work alone. You should never do your own cleanup or catch-up work. It is physically impossible. It is physically impossible for you to do your own cleanup or catch-up work. There's absolutely no way for you to be this person. You cannot market your business, sell to your clients, onboard your clients, do your monthly retainers, and also do catch-up and cleanup work. There is not enough time in the day, friends. Unless you're some sort of superhuman, right? So, and this is just the beginning, right? So how should you actually be pricing? Oh, and by the way, you want to pay yourself, right? Because you run a business. This is a business. This is not all your money. So if you want to pay yourself, so you need to add up all of your expenses. And you could call these potential expenses. You could pretend, okay, so if I am going to hire somebody, if I were to hire somebody to help me with this work, and I wanted to pay them $25 an hour, and since I have the softwares that I'm paying for, and since I also need to pay taxes and think about what your tax rate will be, right? And I also want to pay myself this much, and then I want to have maybe a 10 to 20% profit margin in my company, right? What should I actually be charging? What should I actually be charging? And isn't this the same advice you would give to your client? Isn't this the same advice you'd give to your client, friends? Yeah, it is. I would hope it is. I'd hope you'd be like, well, let's look at your break-even point, right? Let's look at the product you're selling. Let's look at the service you're selling. How much does it cost? Let's look at our variable expenses plus our fixed expenses for you to run this project. Okay, it costs you this much to do this. Now, how much do you want to make? Now, what do you want your profit margin to be? This is what you should be charging then, right? Isn't that what you would advise your client to do? Right. And I mean, with inflation, we're advising our clients to raise their rates, right? Yet here we are, barely getting by because we decided to price ourselves based on if we were the consumer. So the biggest reason right now that I watch so many financial pros not make the money they deserve to make is because even though in our minds, we know how to advise a client to make sure that they have a profitable company, that they have decent profit margins on the products and the services that they sell, we have not used those same exact formulations to help ourselves be profitable. And you bet your guys' booty that the way that I price my products is using this from the very beginning, even in my accounting. When I did accounting in my accounting business, when I did my CFO services, I never charged no $40 an hour. I think I charged $50 an hour for this little man who his wife had just died. And so I gave the work to my girl, Lindsay, who I was paying $25 an hour. And I decided, and I didn't have any software expenses. And I decided I would take 50% of and then there would be taxes involved, right? And I decided I would eat some revenue on it because I felt so bad for him because he was behind on his bookkeeping because his wife died. Literally, that's the only time. It was like a one-time thing, right? And it was a referral from a CPA. Other than that, I never did that crap because I was a CFO and I walked into these scenarios thinking, if I'm going to have a sustainable company, I need to make it something that is sustainable, right? So let's make your business sustainable. So we need sustainable pricing. In order to have a sustainable company. And you own a company. You are not a solopreneur, right? No one's paying your taxes, right? Nobody's coming to save you. You have to figure out how to pay for these things because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is, I'll stop sharing my screen really quick and talk to you guys. What's going to happen is in the beginning, you might think you're okay, just getting your foot in the door, right? You might do this a few times, but what's going to happen is your expenses as you scale will grow because you're going to need to bring on, maybe you hire a mentor, and then you're going to have to pay for some marketing. Then you're going to want to get a website, and then you're going to want to get an email. You're going to want to start sending emails. So you're going to be use an active campaign, and then you're going to be doing this. And then now you're going to have higher profit margins. And now you're paying taxes, and that's going to be 30% of your revenue, right? And next thing you know, you're thinking, man, why am I paying myself only $30,000 a year out of my business? How did this happen, right? How did this happen? How did I get here? And it's typically because when I sit my clients down and I say, okay, give me your client roster, and I see the pricing and they're like, well, I know I'm pricing too low. It's because I started with some clients who I was just getting started. And so I had some clients that I started with some lower pricing. And I'm like, how long have they been at that low pricing, right? And it's typically a year or two. And it's like, okay, well, it's time to raise the bar, right? And here's the thing, you guys, it's okay when you're first getting started, you're first gaining some confidence. I get it, right? But then you get to a point where any new clients you bring on, if your close rate is over 80%, that means your demand is up. Economics says you can raise those prices, right? When demand is high, we get to raise our prices. Look at eggs. Look at how much we're paying for eggs. It's less eggs in the world. Demand is still high. And so that means the price gets to go up. So now we're paying $8 a carton for eggs, right? And guess what? There's only so many Eries. There's only so many Janas. There's only so many Ashleys. You're a hot commodity. I don't have a dozen of you. So if there's only one of you and you are being in demand, that means you get to raise your price. Okay. Is this good so far? Is this helpful? Okay. Let's share my screen again. So next part of this is having awareness, right? the most important part of building cash flow and creating cash flow is through awareness, through reporting rhythms. And let's just pull the group really quick. How many of you know the cash balances of every single one of your bank accounts today, right now? I love this. We got some notes, a lot of I do's. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so not without looking. Okay. So I'll tell you guys what. We have a good group here. A lot of you are good on top of your cash balances. I am typically shocked by the amount of people who ignore their cash balance on a daily basis. This is the best way to measure how you are doing and how cash flow looks and how to, Deepa, that's a lot of your clients, right? So you guys might be better at this than most of your clients, which is put this at the top of your mind for your clients, that they need to have a reporting rhythm or help support them in getting a reporting rhythm where they understand their cash balance every day so they can make better decisions on a daily basis, day to day. Every single morning, because I won't log into my bank account every day, I'll forget to, but every single morning I have an assistant who does it for me, right? So Brianna logs in and she sends me my personal balances and my business balances, and also the transactions from the previous day. So anything that hit. So what went in, what went out. So this includes bank balance, cash in, cash out. The reason that we do this every single day is it gives us the ability, specifically on this cash out, to see and have awareness of like, well, wait, what is that? Right? If you look at your bank balance and you look at your cash balance on a daily basis, you are going to be much more likely to catch things that maybe you shouldn't have been charged for, cancel subscriptions quicker that you realize you're not using, or you accidentally signed up for a free trial of something and then you realize you didn't want it. How many free trials have you signed up for and have forgot to cancel, right? So this gives you the ability to do that. And this is one of the biggest reasons I love this cash out every day, because as soon as I see something that is like, no, this is not, we don't need this, or I'll ask, are we using this for something, right? Like we had some Adobe thing for a while and it came through and it was like $69 a month. And I quickly asked Brianna, I was like, Brianna, do we use this? And she's like, I can ask the rest of the team. And no one even knew what it was, right? And so it's like, okay, cancel that, right? So it gives you the ability to manage your cash and get rid of expenses more quickly than if you were to just ignore these things. Specifically for your clients as well, if they understand what their cash looks like every single day, they're going to be able to also see the expenses. And if you want to know what something is, they can give you information about it quicker. So my favorite reporting rhythm definitely is the cash balance every day, knowing what our cash balance is. It also is a really good motivation driver, right? If I see our cash dipping below something I feel comfortable with, it motivates me. It motivates me to hype up my team. It motivates us to do a promo cycle, right? It helps me make decisions. It helps me decide what our next step should be. Or potentially, if I'm like, hey, right now, I just got approved for a mortgage. my husband and I decided we're going to buy a house this year. And so that's a really big focus of mine right now. And so now I'm like looking at our cash balances, knowing, okay, I need to grow these cash balances. So now I'm motivated to do that, right? And so now I have a goal and I can be motivated by that. By looking at your cash balance every day and having a goal around what you want your cash balances to look like, this can put you into action. It can put your clients into action, right? And so knowing what your clients' goals are also around their cash. Hey, how much do you want to save? What do you want to put in your savings account this year? Right? Let me help you do that. There's no business owner on this earth that doesn't want to feel financially secure. That's why we started our businesses. Help them reach their goals. Be a partner with them, right? I had a contractor, they poured concrete. And one of his biggest things was that they made a lot of money, but they never seemed to have any. And so that's one of the things we worked on is, okay, so you have cash coming in, you spend a lot of money, but you want to feel more financially secure, specifically in the winter when you have a slow season. How much money do you want to help you get through the slow winter, right? How much money do we need to save during that time? So I can hold you accountable to that, right? And when you partner with your clients like this, when you build relationships and say, look at the steps we're taking, look at the steps we're making towards reaching your goals since working together, they see you as an asset, not as a liability or an expense anymore. Now you're somebody who is helping them get where they want to go. Now you're creating a future together. You see the difference there? So you can do this for yourself, but also for your clients. Next, weekly report, super important to me. Payroll versus production. So payroll versus was production or sales. How much got paid out versus, so this is people, right? So this is your total payroll or subcontractor pay versus the total sales or cash collected that week. So if you're paying more to people than they're producing, we have a problem. If every single week you're spending more on the people in your business than that they're producing, this is an issue in your company, right? The reason that we have people in our business is to help us grow and scale our business. If that stops happening for some reason, we need to find out why, right? Each person should produce roughly, so each FTE, so full-time equivalent is what that stands for. So each FTE should produce roughly 250,000 in revenue for your cash flow. For your company. So knowing that, right? Knowing that if you're doing, so I just talked to one of my clients and she's doing about 200K right now, annual, that's cash collected. Okay. And so she has a part-time bookkeeper helping her. And that part-time bookkeeper believes that they can go to be a full-time equivalent and handle 300K in revenue. And then she's also just hired an assistant. She's also just hired an assistant, right? So, oh, this was at part-time. So just a couple hours a week. So the reality is her goal is to get to 500K, right? So she is going to, in the near future, need to probably hire another person for either bookkeeping. This assistant might need to go full time, maybe help with onboarding, something that's likely related to bringing on these clients, right? I don't think you're the only one, Adam. I have a very small male audience. Most of my audience is females. Sorry. But you monitor this on a weekly basis. Am I paying out to subcontractors? Yeah, you're just lucky. Am I paying out more payroll and subcontractor pay than I'm collecting on a weekly basis, right? And this is important information to understand, because if you're not producing, if your team is not producing what you're paying, that's an issue. You need to make decisions based on that, right? Because the people that you bring on should either be leveraged in a way that they're taking care of client success, client fulfillment, in order to help you so you could be marketing, sales, marketing, right? So you can be growing the business and focusing on growing. So you could be the CEO. And that's typically how this works, right? Bring on somebody there so you can focus on growth of the business. But if you just bring somebody on and we have no focus on growth, maybe we lose a few clients and then here we are paying out more than we're bringing in. This is a really good indicator of that. And so this would be the same if you're working with contractors, right? If you're working with any other type of service or product business, what are they producing versus what they're paying out? Is there a problem with what if it's a contractor, right? Maybe they're working on a job and the specific job they're working, you realize on a weekly basis, week to week, they're paying out, 10K for all of their contractors, but they're only bringing in 6K. Well, are they undercharging, right? Is their team working too long? And so these are really great things to bring up. These are asking the right questions. Hey, I'm noticing a trend. There's a trend here. Your payroll expense is exceeding the total sales and total cash collected about 3-4 weeks in a row. What's going on? Right? Your cash flow forecast report. So this would include all your cash in, right? And then any bills being paid that week. Credit cards being paid. Any other debts being paid, right? So maybe this is like Stripe revenue for us. So our Stripe revenue, I'm going to put this like this, Stripe revenue, our PayPal revenue. So this is any cash that came in and then anything that went out, right? So it's literally just like our AP, all the checks that were cut, any kind of things that were cut that went out. It's just a total dollar amount and then any debts that were paid. And so that gives me also an indication of, okay, this is, and then you can also include payroll on this as well. right? So again, this helps you see week to week.
Let's discuss again.
Shoot. Okay, so this would also here. This would also start with a cash beginning balance, right? And then our cash ending balance. And then I actually have an example of this. One minute. I can show you guys really quick. I'm not going to give it to you, but I'll show you an example. Okay. So this is a month to month cash balance. So we had our beginning cash balance, and this is something that I used to use. We still use this. This specifically was for nonprofit, but we had a beginning balance. So our beginning cash balance, so say that was like 100K, and then any receipts, right? So I would change this out with like any kind of program receipts. So we had grant receipts, program receipts, right? Other receipts, and then all of our cash disbursements that would give us our net cash activity, and then any kind of financing activity. So any money that came in due to financing, maybe we borrowed from our line of credit. If we paid down any kind of line of credit, and that would give us a summary of, and then this would give us our ending cash balance, and then we could tie it out with the summary of our cash accounts. So this should tie out right here, right? And then give us our difference if there is a variance. And so this is something that we still use in my company today to tie out. This is something that my mastermind clients have access to. I'm not going to give you guys access to this on a free call. Love you, but don't love you that much. If you're in my mastermind and you need access to that, it's in the CFO trainings. So those are just some typical reports that are going to help you and help your clients. And then, of course, I wanted to mention, obviously, your monthly reporting. Your P&L. And you want to do, when you are reporting on a monthly P&L, you want to do month and then compared to previous period, right? Because you need to anchor. And I talked about this on our last call. Make sure you anchor them to something so they can compare. And then you would notate, and you could do this for yourself as well, right? You notate any variances or differences, right? Any kind of big variances. So for example, if your utilities goes from 10K to 20K, why, right? Is that an error? Did somebody leave? I don't know. This is obviously you're not gonna have a 10K error for leaving the heat on, but you know, did you pay like a massive oil bill? Like what happened, right? And these are things that you should notate and understand. Like, is this irregular? because you want to know what are your regular expenses, what should you understand and know that's going to happen every single month. And when you know those things, you know how much money you need to be making on every single month. And most people don't realize this. They don't realize, oh, no matter what, we have to pay $50,000 out of the company every single month. If I know that my basic expenses are going to be about 50K every single month, and I want to make higher profit margins, so my fixed expenses are here, I'm going to have some variable expenses here. In order to scale this up, I need to keep these expenses here, right? So if say your fixed expenses, if you figure out that they are, say, 35K, right? And then your variable, then you have your variable expenses, and say for every 50K you make, you are going to roughly spend 10K on, I don't know, materials, right? Whatever it is. Materials, maybe it's labor, right? Coaches for me, maybe something like that, right? So if you figure that out, you know what your break-even point is, and you know exactly what you need to do in order to continue to scale. This helps you make decisions. Okay. Balance sheet. And then I already have the cash forecast. So the cash flow forecast report, that can be sent on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. We have ours monthly. I'm just going to highlight that, weekly or monthly. And then another thing that I frequently do is I look through my general ledger. Right? And I look for any errors, obviously. And any expenses that I believe we could potentially cut, right? So things that I'm just like, do we really need that? Right? Okay. Any questions about anything that I talked about today? I don't want to go crazy because this is a lot. I'm going to give you guys this sheet again. Helpful, awesome. What's interesting to me is we put a lot of weight on like, can I take a second to talk about my mastermind? Sure. We put a lot of weight on CFO type services, right? We think that advisory and CFO services are like this, that it needs to be so complicated. The reality is most of you are capable of offering that if you're not already. And it really comes down to just telling the story of what the numbers are saying. It's really just translating the story. Like, this is actually what's happening in your business. And when you can do that for your clients, that's when you become a massive asset to people. And I think that's going to be more and more crucial as we grow as an industry. AI is an incredible tool, and it is becoming more and more high tech. I mean, we're already seeing what's capable of artificial intelligence, and bookkeeping is a commodity at this point. I mean, it really is. It's a commodity. And here's how I know it's a commodity, because I'm only willing to pay like $160 for it. I have someone do my bookkeeping, and we pay $160 a month. That's it. And I honestly would never pay more. And why is that? Because it's a commodity. It doesn't tell me anything unless somebody actually reads those numbers to me, right? And so if you don't want to commoditize yourself, I don't mean to sound harsh, I don't mean to sound rude, but you have to be a partner to your clients. And so really this is a part 2 to the last conversation that we had 2 weeks ago. And if you didn't watch that, go back and watch it. If you want to be valuable to your clients, really just read them, translate what the numbers are saying. And that is where you can make all the difference in somebody's life. And that's really what we're here to do, right? That's really what we're here to do, is change somebody's lives. We're here to change our own life, and we're here to change their lives, right? There's the replay part vault. So as far as our mastermind, our mastermind is really like a holistic type program where we're teaching you how to be a better leader in your company, how to be a CEO in your company, how to market your company and get more clients. And really it's like no stone goes unturned. I'm there to show you how to be more of who you need to be, right? Whatever that looks like. So, and that's, probably not doing it justice. But the reality is there's a lot of programs out there that will teach you marketing, they'll teach you these things. And what we've done more than anything with our mastermind is create a community and cultivated a culture where it's about growth, not just the growth for your company, but the growth of who you are. Because you can grow a business all day long. Making money is easy. Like, dare I say that? I know it sounds a little cocky, but making money is honestly easy. Once you figure out who you're marketing to and you can get yourself out there and be the best in your industry, become the category queen or king, making money can come easy to you. But where people go wrong is when they stop being true to themselves, when they aren't there fulfilling their own happiness, when they aren't becoming leaders to lead their company. Most accountants were never taught how to be leaders. They were never taught how to grow businesses. They were never taught how to manage teams. And if you need anything more than anything else, it's how to lead a company. Being the captain of that ship is the most crucial part of this, because you won't keep a team and you won't keep your clients if you don't figure out how to future cast a vision and mission that's so fucking great that everyone wants to follow you. And if you don't know what that is for you, if you haven't figured that out for you and what's important to you, it's going to be really hard for you to create that vision for in that future for anybody else. Right now, no. Right now, the mastermind is for anyone that's probably doing about 5,000 to 8,000 a month. That's where we like to see people typically. So if you're not quite there, we will say go to boot camp, do a couple of rounds of boot camp, do our boot camp plus membership. And then we would recommend mastermind after that. So it's really for scaling. All right. Yeah, and anyone else interested, yeah, it's just under that 100K. And then we do have a guarantee. We guarantee that you'll make 100K in that program, or we'll work with you until you do. because we want to take away the risk. Like we believe so much in our services and our product that we can get you there. That we want to guarantee it. Speaking of guaranteeing results, I have some guaranteed results to deliver to one of our mastermind clients, Erie. And so I'm going to go so I can do my one-on-one call with her and help her out today because her call started 2 minutes ago. So you're cutting into her call time. All right. Well, love you guys. Hope that you guys found this super helpful. This will be up on the replay vault if you missed any part of it. And we will be talking, I'll be back next week. I don't know. I'm not sure what we're talking about next week. I think we're talking about marketing next week. I think that we're going to talk about creating a mission and vision for your company that is so compelling that people want to follow you, which should be really fun. So you want to be there for that. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Mwah.